Hi, she's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is Our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and what it provides us and what we hope it gives you. We are coming on episode, I think it's 59. 59 today. I'd like to apologize for my nasally voice. I'm going to move the camera just a minute. I am dealing with seasonal allergies. And
so are her kids.
And it sucks. So just bear in mind that I'm not sick in any way. It's just the allergies. It's just intense. Otherwise we wouldn't be doing this video. I know personally, for my show and tell, so to speak, I have a lot done, but not all of it will I be showing with you today because I want to be able to have some of my works done in a completed state.
Yes.
But I do have a couple of things I'd like to share on top of a really fancy trick I learned this last week that really made my mom happy.
I get to use this now because I know about it.
So, what are you going to show today?
Okay, for those of you that are showing concern about the fall that I had on Mother's Day, I am somewhat better, enough to crochet again. I do have pain a little bit afterwards, but I can handle that. I found out that my head up here had a cut on it, and I didn't even know that until 3-4 days gone in. Found that by accident. And then when my grandkids are climbing on and off from my lap, my shin, I find out when they put their full strength on it, it just radiates pain. So I'm not sure what's going on with that right now, but most of the time it's okay. If I'm just walking or doing my thing, I don't even feel it. It's when they actually touch it and put pressure on it that I feel it. So most of me is okay on a day-to-day basis unless touched. And that seems to be the thing with all pain, I guess. But so I get to crochet again, and it's okay while I'm doing it. I work through whatever residual pain I have, but afterwards I do have to deal with a little bit of
Throbbing pain?
It's not really throbbing so much as just there. So I do take Tylenol for it.
Tenderness?
Yeah, it's just tenderness, and I go to bed, and when I wake up, I'm okay. So
it seems to be healing well.
Yes, everything's healing well. It's just still there. And if it is a sprain, like I thought that it was at the beginning, it may take a while to go away all the way. But the fact that I get to crochet again is just making me happy. And I do have other projects that I'd like to get done for the kids for Christmas, but that's going to take more dexterity than I seem to have right now. It's going to require actual hand sewing, and I want to be fully well before that starts. So right now I'm working in mostly purples and greens. I say mostly because I did put some yellow and green in here, and there's some variegateds too. So right now I'm working in more of a light purple and a variegated, but there was some light purple with the green and yellow and a rose color with the green and a dark purple that went into like a mint green, or like a very, very light green, and then all the way down to the bright green with the variegateds. But I'm not working in any kind of order. It's just seeming to be dark all the way up to light, and I wasn't thinking that way when I first started this, but it makes me happy nonetheless. just to be able to do my work and have it turn out well. So I didn't even notice it until we were showing it off that it was mostly darks up till light. So, but that works for me. So that's all I've got to show right now, because I haven't been able to get too much done. But now that I get to crochet again, I'm so happy. And as the time goes on and it gets warmer, because it was warm last week and it's cold again this week, I'll be working in blocks, I think, for the summer. That way it's not hanging on me, it's not on my lap. That's a good working solution. With blocks and making my blocks, and then put them together. I can use a table to put them together and it's not on my lap. And so I think for the summer that's what I'll be doing. So, and a note on the quilt for her father-in-law, I do get to use a long arm that a friend of mine has. She's going to teach me how to use it on June 2nd. And so I'm hoping to be able to get the quilt done before her father-in-law comes at the end of June. So it's crunch time now for that, but at least with a long arm it's not going through the small throat of my small sewing machine, or regular size sewing machine, but the throat is smaller. This way I can just do whatever designs that she might show me, and I'm gonna be able to work with all 3 layers at the same time and not have no crunching. And yeah.
Is there any are you gonna use templates to have a peacock design at all, like feathers?
I have no idea. She's gonna be able to show me that, and I think she might have some templates. I'm not sure.
Because you can always have templates that you can go around.
Yeah.
Or even the feathers, like a whole fan.
Yeah, she's going to be able to show me that, and I'll be able to work with it and hopefully have it all done before he gets here. And I'm just going to ask that he, in a text, I'll just have him bring extra suitcase when he comes, extra empty suitcase when he comes.
And either that or he can choose his own preferred way of
sending it back home.
Yeah,
if he decides he wants to take it down to a shipping company to mail it back to himself at home, he can do that. Or he can just take it back on the airplane with him.
Exactly.
So that's the update on that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'll work on this while you're explaining your things that you got done.
Okay, do you want me to...
Oh, that's right.
Do the trick first?
Yes, how about we do that, and then I can set the camera back up. Because we have to move the camera in order for her to show you this.
I'm going to use your crochet hook.
Okay.
Okay, so... Okay, the trick here is to make one continuous strand become
this one ball.
Yeah, this one ball becomes 3 active strands at once that can be used like how my mom does the scrappy blankets, or to make a heavier weight size of sewing. Yeah. So you can take this and then it would be like a weight size of 6 or 8, like a thick yarn. Yeah. Like a blanket yarn.
Yeah.
So my mom's going to have the camera. She's going to aim it down at the table so that you can see what I'm doing.
Okay, I'm going to try and do this for you folks.
This is the first time we've done this. Okay, so what I am doing is whatever side you go towards for your crocheting, regardless, because so I'm right-handed. And so I have the yarn on this side of me, over here.
Okay, but the ball is over here, so
I don't need that.
Okay.
I just need the working yarn. I'm just saying my working strand is going this way. You make an S, just a simple S, and you take the end and this loop and you bring it together. You make a normal slip knot with all three of these strands. Normal slip knot like you just do. Grab your crochet hook. I'm using the 10mm because it's 3 working yarns at the same time. I'm going to act like I'm crocheting a chain with these all 3 working together. Now, obviously, you are probably being like, well, Sarah, how is this going to work if, obviously, that little zigzag didn't last that long with just a couple of chains? So what do? You put your fingers through this hole and you literally just pull on the working strand and make a longer
Isn't that clever?
expansion, and then you still have it at a 3-weight yarn. You keep going for however long you need it. And then once you get to this point, like I said, when if you don't need, if you still want it to be at a 3-weight, you just
3-strand.
a 3-strand.
Oh, there we go.
You just pull it through the hole and pull it until you have as much as you want to have before you have to do it again, and you just keep continuing. And like, look, you can do the yarn over and do a double crochet with this. Like, you can do it as a working yarn. All you have to do is every single time you get to that loop is pull through. Otherwise, like, I'm thinking like with a blanket with this sort of a weight of a yarn, you could always stop taking in that when you're doing the border or you're doing anything, because at any point you can go back down to a 1 strand.
There you go. Yeah.
And you do it with 1 thing of yarn. You have made a thicker 3-strand, heavier yarn with this trick, and you're only using one yarn.
One ball at a time. Isn't it awesome? And we're back.
So I thought I'd share that with you guys. I know that was a bit rocky, but I saw that idea and I shared it with my mom, who uses multiple yarns all at once. And I was just like, if you ever wanted to do just one solid color, now you have the option to use up huge things of yarn all at one time. And I thought that was a pretty cool idea.
It is a cool idea.
Did you enjoy it?
I did.
So
there we go.
I hope that helps any of you. Excuse me. I hope that helps any of you guys that might need some ideas if you only have larger hook sizes, but this is a more cheaper alternative, like the 4-weight acrylic yarn. You can still potentially get your use and your desired thickness just by that trick, and I thought that might not be a bad idea to share with you guys. And just so you know, we do actually have an actual stand that would allow our camera to be aiming towards our hands and actively working where it's not shaky. At some point in the near future, my mom and I have already decided a couple of things that I or her will be teaching in that form of fashion in a more tutorial-esque format that we will start adding as a playlist in our channel for any time you want to go back to that. If there's anything, I know that a couple people have shown interest in our gurumi shapes
and granny squares.
And granny squares. I almost think that there was another one, but I cannot think of it right now. But at any point, we are more than willing to take suggestions. It just takes time because we live pretty busy lives, and so it has to be an intentional outside of our normal filming schedule to make time for that.
And Sarah needs to make time when she's got 2 little ones. So.
Yeah, so I do apologize for that delay. Okay, you can start crocheting with your hook now. I have a couple of things to show off despite not being able to show my big kahula that I'm so excited to share with
I
you
know,
next
I
week.
can't wait.
My husband for Mother's Day ended up getting me this boy kit. It's a zipper pouch that fans out and is knitting needles. Sizes ranging from 2 to 15 and some of them at half sizes, with 3 different lengths attachments for a circular, making them circular needles. So I am super excited about this. My husband's had an eye on this product for a while to get me, and for the first time he was able to actually do it. He said it happened to be on sale when he went to go grab it for the first time. Every single time other than that, for the last 3 or 4 years, he's gone to possibly buy it. Apparently it's pretty expensive. He said it has never been in our price ability. This time, even though we had the money and he was intentionally like, I'm going to go buy it, I know I have the money, and end up being on sale when he actually had the money to go get it. So it was like,
timing is always so good when husbands want to go buy stuff for us.
So just for reference, my mom's birthday was the 16th of May.
Yep.
Today is the 18th.
Yep.
So it was 2 days ago, and we were celebrating it, and meaning me, I have this huge project that I'm doing right now, and as a present for her, and she knows about it because she's the one who requested it, and I've just decided to make it my own mission to make it bigger than it really needed to be. I can't wait to show you what it is and the amount of effort I've put into creating this into being this huge thing. But on that day, I was kind of like, okay, I want to be able to get you something and give it to you right now. What is it that you'd want? And she asked me to make her some scrunchies. And so...
Because I'm always putting my hair back and using scrunchies to do that.
Yeah. So she gave me some of her ponytails, and I have been crocheting her scrunchies in colors that she doesn't already have.
Right.
And so I made one that is out of orange. And I made it where you just pretty much cast on to the hair tie as the base chain.
Yeah.
Until like you really pack on the rope so that it has an ability to expand.
Right.
And not just be torn. And then when I chain 3 up to be able to do the double crochet, I double crochet 3 into each stitch so that it would create
the ripple. That's awesome.
And this is one way of doing the scrunchie, and she said that she definitely likes the way that it turned out, which I'm very grateful to. Yeah. This is a pretty quick project. I did it in one sitting.
Yeah.
The other one
she would have had done, but her kids needed her that day.
This one?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was so close to being done with this one, but, you know, life. And I end up leaving the project here over Tuesday, which it's now Wednesday, so I'm just now able to get back to it. But I am in this one doing a much more traditional scrunchie where you're doing a tube over the hair tie. And so I am actively crocheting a tube around the hair tie. And I plan on making the tube, like I said, much more than the hair tie's relaxed circumference, because when it stretches I want there to be room for that tube to be able to fully expand, and it should be able to have that normal ripple effect. I do know that the normal scrunchies that are normally suggested to be made in this way are normally knitted, because knit is much more of a relaxed stitch and can move and be molded and look relaxed as it's laying on there, whereas this one's going to be much more structured and not want to just lay relaxed or fun. It would have to be molded in that way. But my mom said she doesn't mind that, because honestly, if she's not having it on, it would make a really nice bracelet.
Yeah. And
when she said when you're actually folding it up, it's still going to look pretty and all ribbon-like, and it's still going to be an abundance of color. And so she chose this variegated, which is
Nice summer
very,
colors.
very, very beautiful. Very rainbow-esque. Instead of reds, it's pinks. Instead of a sky blue, it's like an aqua blues, and just really, really nice colors. Very pleasant to the eye. And so I should be easily able to finish the tube and sew it together and be able to hand that to her for her gift. And I did do other things. It wasn't like I just did these two things for her on her birthday. I went shopping and grabbed her a whole bunch of stuff that I knew she'd like.
Stationery stuff. I love the stationery section of the stores. And she got me lots of papers, different size papers and pens.
Pens that can go on keychains and have retractable.
Isn't that cool? She got herself a black one and me it's almost neon purple.
Yeah.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, so not that that's about that, but I just know that like I did my best to be able to make it fun for my mom. And I hope to be able to finish this scrunchie so she has both of them while she's waiting till... I had so much hope to be able to get that project fully done, the big one, done by her birthday, and then I got sick.
Her kids got sick.
Just bad allergies, and they did not react very well with them.
Well, the pollen is very bad this year.
With us it is. Like, it might not be thick, but it's consistently coming down, if that makes sense. Like, it might not be big flakes of pollen, but it's still enough where it's like a consistent, constant.
Our garbage can lid was full of it, and it was just like, oh my gosh, no wonder the kids are sick.
And so just trying to be patient with the setbacks, because it's still just so frustrating when you're like, I know what I need to get done, but like my body is not letting me get it done.
Well, not only that, but she likes to get her deadlines, and sometimes the deadlines go past.
Yeah, it frustrates me, but it's okay. And I got into like this reading kick where I just wanted to spend my extra time reading instead of crocheting, and that makes me feel like a poser. Like, I normally am an audiobook reader for the sake that I can do both at the same time, but these works I wanted to be all consumed in and have physical, like, needing to sit down and read. But it's kind of hard to do, even and accomplish with the two littles, but I've been finding times throughout the day where they're down already and like playing independently or on their tablets or whatever, where they're just kind of like relaxed on their own, where I can get that time, and I've been very appreciative of that. But during that time, instead, I've been sleeping or something, because like I've not been feeling good. So it's craziness. But that leads us to our next section, which
we're going to read two scriptures because there's a story behind this. So the first one is, "Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth." And that's found in 1 John 3:18 in the New International Version, NIV.
And then the second verse is James 2, verse 15 through 17, and it's along the same it follows the 1 John's verse, and it's also in the NIV. It says, my bad, I'm so sorry. "Suppose a brother or a sister is without clothing or in daily food. If one of you says to them, 'Go in peace and keep warm and well fed,' but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is that? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accomplished by actions, is dead." So the story behind this is that I was on Facebook scrolling, and one of my friends had shared this post that it had the photo of a let's see, it has this photo of a person obviously struggling in the water, and this person on the pier, or it's like the dock, that just is like, dude, just pray about it. And I don't know what religious cultures, specifically Christian religious cultures that you come from, whether it be Catholic or Baptist or, you know, Reformed or whatever. I came from a very evangelistic background, very Pentecostal, a bit Arminian, but much more Pentecostal, if anything. And there was this aspect of using your faith in a aspect of mindfulness in a way, kind of like a, well, I'm going to use my faith to will myself out of this scenario. And it isn't that that doesn't have its place. But I have noticed a trend in the evangelical community that is much more Pentecostal that uses this frame of work, as in they use it in a way that dictates a separation of their responsibility to intervene on other people's behalf based off of either comfort or whether they feel that that person put themselves in the situation deliberately, or whether it is a, I genuinely don't have the answer and this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm just kind of waiting for something to fall in my lap.
Right.
But I sit there and, like these verses said, in the post that was shared with that illustration, it was just like, listen, faith literally without works is dead. Your actions are not your salvation, but your faith can only be activated by doing something with it. And that's what both of these verses talk about. Like, you can't just look at people that are literally drowning, like in the illustration, and just be like, hey, just pray about it. It's going to get better.
Yeah, let me read mine real quick again. Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. You have to act on faith.
Yep.
You cannot just sit there. You can say the words. If that will help somebody, that will help somebody. But a lot of times people need the action behind the faith that you proclaim to have. And, you know, in the illustration, if you're not actively pulling that person out of the situation that they're in, then you're not really using your faith at all.
No, you're not. You're just, it's, like I said, it's a tool to separate yourself from the scenario. Just excuse me.
Ooh, bless you.
It's just like it's a way to, it's like I'm washing my hands clean of this.
Yeah.
I will pray about it, and therefore, unless God has enlightened me to actually be a part of this, it's like, but I don't know, like,
that's not what Jesus would have did. He would have jumped in the water and helped that person out. He would have done something, and that's what we're called to do too.
And here's the thing, right? So, like, I'm going to be very honest. The scenarios in which I see this act the most is in situations where people are being abused and they are too unwilling to touch it because they're just like, I don't want to be involved. I'll just pray about it. I'll pray for you. Any sort of abuse, like ranging from age, ranging from how.
Yeah.
Just abuse in and of itself. They separate themselves from it, just being like, because it makes me too uncomfortable and I don't want to have to make hard choices about setting boundaries with people. Yeah. I'm just going to just say, you know, they're working on it, and I'm going to pray for them, or I'm going to help them in that way. Another version of it is to say, you literally seeing someone going through a hard time, and in your head you have this set assumption of them that they put themselves in that scenario based off of their choices, not choosing to recognize that regardless of whether they did or not, we were chosen to love them.
Right.
God, regardless of whether people get where they are based off of their actions and behaviors, it does not dictate how we are supposed to react. Because if God loved them first and was willing to die for them, that should be a moot argument.
Yeah.
That should not be something that we are even considering to be a justified reason to not even engage. And there is a reason for prayer. There is a reason for calling out to God in this way, or to even have this time set aside. But
we're not telling you not to pray.
Yeah, no,
there are reasons to pray.
That is not my argument. I feel like some of this comes from a state of either you are not aware of what you're doing is actually hurting others. Because, I don't think that everyone that does this is intentionally trying to hurt people. No. They just don't realizing that what they're doing is not helping.
Right. Right.
When there is an obvious way to be able to cut through to the root, and you just want to trim the rose, trim the weed.
You're right.
You're still gonna that root is still gonna suck all the energy out of the rest of the garden, because that's what weeds are. They literally suffocate
the rest of the
garden underneath.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to get your hands dirty,
right,
you're just assuming that it's still going to be a pretty garden regardless of whether the weed is there or not, and that's not the truth. You're going to come back to a dead garden.
Right.
And there's too many people that are asking for help that are not getting help just because of that whole thing. They're washing their hands of it and they don't want to get dirty.
Right.
And it just makes me sad. Prayer is very good, lifting people up, being able to find a very raw way to be able to have a relationship with God, even a structured way, even with I even think about the rosary beads, where from what I understand, Catholics have them for each bead represents a different way to pray,
right,
or a different person to pray for, or it's a very set way to just be it helps them remember what's important to pray for,
right,
what the priorities are,
right,
and it's that's really cool. It's just the same way as having a prayer list, but having it always with you.
Yeah.
That's why people, apparently that's why Catholic people have a rosary with them all the time, is to be able to set that visual aid where they're touching it while they're...
Right.
That's why you see them.
Yeah.
I might be wrong, but that's what I was told, and if that's true, that's still very awesome. And again, prayer has its place, but when an action is literally in front of you to be hey, here's an obvious situation in which you can engage that God's giving to you to be able to meet that person's need and be Jesus for them
on purpose
at the time. And we as a congregation have lost sight of what God's role for us is.
Yeah.
Which is to reach the widows and the orphans and the homeless and the lame and those that are sick. And I would also like to mention that mental illness is not demonic. Right. It's an illness.
Right.
And that in and of itself is if you see someone that's depressed and all you say to them is, just pray yourself out of it, you don't know what it's like to live in their headspace where they are constantly attacked, and it literally takes so much effort to do anything.
Right.
It's consciously deciding to lift your foot out of bed,
right,
and try to get off the bed. It's such executive dysfunction.
Yeah.
You know what you're supposed to do, but you cannot get your body to follow along.
Right.
And I'm not about to say that everyone that doesn't understand is a bad person. I just encourage you to use empathy with everyone that you come through, because you have not lived their life.
Yeah.
And to assume that you know better than them has already put in and anybody that can tell that will not be able to be reached.
Right. The simple way to think about this, I heard it from Sadie Robertson Huff. She said on her channel, ministry to her is loving God and loving people. It's as simple as that. If you are in a ministry, you're loving God and you're loving people. And that just brought it all home to me. I was just like, how simple. I can think of that, and I can remember what ministry is now due to that statement. And if you're loving people, you're loving God already.
What? Yes. Because to love him is to be obedient to him.
And he wants you to be there for other people.
But what is your definition of love? I know I have one. And I'm not just talking the biblical definition of like love does not boast, love is not... Like, yeah, I'm not talking that still applies to this definition, but...
What is your definition?
I was told a long time ago that love is actively putting someone else's wants and needs before your own.
That's basically what I would say too.
Because it's not arrogant, it's not self-serving, it's not
even selfish, because you're putting others ahead of yourself.
There is such a thing as self-care and self-love. And
you need to do that too.
And you need to be able to do that too, but that's by setting proper boundaries.
Right.
And not ones that separate your ability to be reached even by God, because I feel like that's what this does. If you genuinely have already judged someone's situation enough to be like, you can tell that they're drowning, or regardless of whether you see them drowning, you are so convinced that they put themselves in that situation that like they need to do it on their own.
Right.
And it's like, that doesn't help anybody.
Right. Right.
Like,
if we just step up and help others, then your faith is at work and activated.
Yeah, I know that for everyone that I ever seem to help, I seem to always get more blessed as I'm helping others.
Yes. And the blessing comes each time.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you help somebody, you get blessed. And maybe that's not what you're looking for, and hopefully it's not what you're looking for, because that's a selfish reason to do something. But if you're helping somebody and all of a sudden you're blessed in the process and you hadn't even thought of that, it's just another thing to make you want to help another person. To help them is just a way of loving another person.
I heard something somewhere. I'm trying to remember. I was listening to a preaching, and it was talking about a very specific set of verses. I want to say they're in the Gospels. I don't think I saved them on my phone though, but it's literally it's about bringing people to the table. There's apparently several different verses about who to invite to your table. Who to invite. That, okay, this actually can be part of this. Actually, great. Jesus was talking to, it was a scenario where he was at the person's house. He ended up in a Jewish tradition, and a Jewish culture at the time, where your place in the house proves a narrative as to how important you are to the host. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. He was placed at the head. Mm-hmm. And then whoever sits next to him, whether it be his right hand or his left hand, showed a very, very what equation there is to even that person based off of what the right and left hand signified in their culture.
Right.
The right side or left side of someone. And it was that story of the lady who came up and was like, can my son be on your right hand and my other one be on your left?
Right.
And he's just like,
You don't know what you're asking.
You don't know what you're asking because he's like, okay, I'm sitting at the right hand of the Father. So therefore, no one's going to be on my left.
Right.
And just expressing that that's not the point. It's not about status. And then was just like, he made a point of, don't, because in their culture, whenever you were invited and you attended, you had to write the host that invited you to the party into your host book of when you have another party, then you were to pay forward that experience to them as well. Yeah. No matter what event you're doing, they were to be invited because they invited you. Right. It was just a custom, and he challenged that by being like, don't just invite family and friends. I want you to never invite them if it's at the if that's going to. And it's a very exaggerated version because Jesus had to make a point, but he was like, if that's going to cost your ability to invite the people that God's inviting to his table, which are not just the ones that are in high places and in this, and it's the infirmed, it's the outcast, it's the widow, it's the orphan, it's the ill, it's the people that are
it's the ordinary people, not the extraordinary.
Yeah, it's exactly. And he's like, because that's one step towards them. It was a very specific way of it being put, and I'm so sorry I haven't just decided to pull it up, but I know that we're getting short on time. In the story, there is a verse that specifically says something along the lines of, and I'm just saying it in my own term that I can remember, you bringing them to a level of being the one served helps a chain reaction for them to get success, because it's like that whole aspect of the first time someone actually shows kindness to someone and how that can completely set them up for much more success. Right. Because the kindness is just, it means so much, and it can impact someone's life so incredibly to be treated as someone to be seen. Yeah. And how that feeling of watching their success, what that does to Jesus, what he wants that to do to us, right, should give us like this zealous, like, yes, the devil isn't going to win this one. This person's life is not less than just because they're going through something. And I want to be able to give them this. I want to be a stepping stone. Right. They can succeed further than me. I don't need credit. I just want to know that I'm a part of the plan to be, right, and I'm doing my part. And I know I'm doing my part because they succeed. Right. Yes. Yes. Because otherwise they would never even have a chance. And there's this aspect to, what are we doing to set people up for success? Yeah. You can't just tell them to pray their way out of being poor, or pray their way out of being ill, or pray their way out of certain things, when that's just, it just comes off as very...
example.
Inconsiderate.
Right. The example that I'm going to use is Sarah needs to be away from the kids 2 days out of the week to do personal things. And I take over that time and watch the kids for her. On Mondays, I actually go and pick Olivia up from the bus. And on Wednesdays, like today, she'll be going to pick her up from the bus. Yeah. But
I don't need to be out as long. But.
Right. But for me, I'm able to help her. It blesses her, but it also blesses me because I get to spend time with the grandkids. And so, but it's also proven my faith that it's a blessing to be able to do it for her, but it's also works. My works are not dead. My faith is in action, and I'm helping out where I can, because she needs the extra help with James being at work.
Yeah, it's the whole aspect of, and I hope you've seen a change in me because of the places I go to get help.
Yeah.
I have pastor friends that have therapy licenses or degrees that I go to, and not only for personal but for other things as well. And they sit down with me and just talk with me about things that on either a personal level or a greater level, and it's just like to be able to have that time to be able to ask the questions and get the insight of these guys that have literally, they're actually like theologians, and they actually have all this insight. Has changed my life.
But she wouldn't be able to do it
if it wasn't for someone else being able to step in and be like, that's worth it for you.
Yeah, but it also to help her with the kids.
Yeah.
She would not be able to do this without that help.
One of them has said I'm allowed to bring the kids. The other one said that's not going to work.
Yeah. So I'm able to do that, and it blesses her, it blesses me, and it also is a way for me to show my faith and to activate it and to make sure that I'm helping people in my daily life.
I was actually talking about this with a best friend yesterday because she's going through a really hard time right now, and she's dealing with some wounded parts of herself that, like, she dealt with a lot of trauma. And I'm like, listen, the thing with trauma is that you can't change the past, but you can be able to promise yourself in certain actions that you do, especially with that part that is still stuck at that time and age and place, that it won't happen again. Right. It could be very small things, like an organization that combats the abuse that you've gone through by donating $5 a month even would allow that part of yourself to be like, I am actively a part of the change that other people are not going to experience this again. Right. Another way is to set boundaries that you're not going to be allowing this sort of abuse to happen again. Other ways is to be able to help yourself heal from that. Like, there's ways that we can say, I want the success. Right. Whether it be for me to be able to be a better person for my people around me, or even for other things. But that takes more than just prayer. Mm-hmm. That takes just that extra step. And I don't know, that post really hit me, and I thought, and my mom had read it when I shared it from my friend, and it was just like, it's this.
We just felt we needed to talk about it today with you, and I hope that was okay, and I hope that if it hit home with you too, that you'll comment and let us know it. And if there's anything else we can do to help you or pray for you or anything like that, just let us know. We're willing to do that.
I would also like to mention, if any one of you have watched War Room and have experienced that movie, I'm not saying that prayer doesn't work. But even then, that movie, that still took actions of believing in change. And even the woman, she would have never been able to even have grace or love for her husband had she not started thinking about him differently. Had she not started praying for him differently and changing the way that she thought about him. Yeah. That step of like, I'm going to give the chance. Yeah. I'm going to use my faith with actions. That's speaking the word. That's she would take time out of the week to go see that old lady that had done it her whole life, and it's like, how do we do this? Yeah. There are ways, and I just...
It's all...
Recognizing all that is part of the solution. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's recognizing and acting on what you know to do.
There's more than one ingredient to make this work. You can't have one without the other, otherwise clogs won't actually make any sort of motion.
Right. Yep.
So we love you. We hope that this wasn't too much. We just wanted to talk about this with you today, and we hope that it goes well with you. And let us know if you like some of the tips that we share with you, some of the ideas of like the scrunchies or even the blanket, because I know my mom has that written down in the description now.
Yes.
And we are very excited to celebrate the 60th episode with you coming next week.
Yes.
And just being able to spend time with you. We love you all, and we thank you for joining us. As always, we ask that you stitch your way
To mental health.